Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where your loose change could be worth a fortune, and today we're diving into a story so incredible that you'll want to check every penny in your possession immediately, because what if I told you that a simple 1-cent coin from 2009 could be worth an absolutely staggering $22 million? Most people see pennies as practically worthless, tossing them aside or leaving them in jars to collect dust, but this particular Lincoln penny from 2009 with AD mint mark is not just any ordinary coin. It's a numismatic phenomenon that has collectors, investors, and everyday people scrambling through their change with magnifying glasses and hope in their hearts. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this 2009 Lincoln penny so extraordinarily valuable, I need you to stick around until the very end of this video, because after we uncover the secrets of this $22 million treasure, we're going to reveal another Lincoln penny from 1979 that's worth even more than you can imagine. And then, well, let's just say the final coin we'll discuss will absolutely blow your mind with a value that defies all logic and reason. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on this 2009 penny first. The 2009 Lincoln penny, at first glance, appears to be just another common cent that you might receive as change at your local coffee shop or find wedged between your couch cushions. But what separates the ultra-rare, museum-quality specimens from the billions of regular 2009 pennies is a combination of extraordinary minting errors, pristine condition, and historical significance that creates a perfect storm of collectability. To understand why this coin can command such an astronomical price, we need to travel back to 2009, a year that was particularly special in the world of American coinage because it marked the bicentennial, the 200th anniversary, of Abraham Lincoln's birth in 1809, and the United States Mint decided to commemorate this momentous occasion by releasing 4 different reverse designs for the Lincoln cent, each representing a different phase of Lincoln's life and legacy. The 4 designs depicted Lincoln's birth and early childhood in Kentucky, his formative years in Indiana, his professional life in Illinois, and his presidency in Washington, D.C., and this was the first time in the Lincoln cent's 100-year history that the reverse design had been changed, making 2009 a landmark year for penny collectors. The Denver Mint, indicated by that crucial D mint mark positioned just below the date on the obverse side of the coin, produced millions upon millions of these commemorative pennies. But here's where things get fascinating and where fortunes are made and lost. Among those millions of ordinary strikes, a small number of coins were produced with catastrophic errors, flaws so dramatic and so rare that they transformed humble 1-cent pieces into objects worth more than luxury cars, mansions, and in the most extreme cases, enough to change someone's life forever. The most valuable 2009 Lincoln pennies are those struck on wrong planchets, meaning the blank metal disc that should have been a penny blank was actually intended for a completely different denomination. Imagine a penny design struck on a planchet meant for a dime, quarter, or even more incredibly, a Sacagawea dollar or presidential dollar planchet, and suddenly you have a coin that shouldn't exist, a mistake that slipped past multiple quality control checkpoints and made it into circulation, where some lucky individual might have received it as change. These wrong planchet errors are considered among the holy grails of error coin collecting because they're immediately obvious even to casual observers. The coin will have the wrong size, wrong weight, wrong color, or wrong edge design, and authentication is relatively straightforward for experts who can measure and weigh the piece to confirm its composition. Another error that drives values into the stratosphere is the double strike, where a coin is struck by the dies twice, either with the second strike being perfectly aligned creating an incredibly bold and detailed image, or more commonly and more dramatically, with the second strike being rotated or off-center creating a ghostly double image that makes the coin look almost supernatural. And when you combine a double strike with other errors like wrong planchets or major die breaks, you're looking at a coin that might be literally one of a kind in the entire world. Remember, we still have 2 more incredible pennies to discuss after this one, and trust me when I say that the values only get more shocking from here, so make sure you're subscribed and keep watching because you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's talk about condition, because even the rarest error coin in the world won't achieve maximum value unless it's been preserved in absolutely pristine, museum-quality condition, and this is where professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, become absolutely essential to the story. These companies employ expert numismatists who examine every microscopic detail of a coin under powerful magnification, looking for scratches, dings, discoloration, wear, and any other imperfections that might diminish its grade, and they assign numerical grades on the Sheldon scale, which runs from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolutely perfect, and coins graded MS 70, Mint State 70, or PR 70, Proof 70, represent the pinnacle of coin preservation, specimens so flawless that even under 10x magnification, no imperfections can be detected. When a 2009 D Lincoln penny with a major error is also graded MS 69 or MS 70, you're looking at a combination so rare that it might be the only example known to exist, and that is when values explode into the millions and tens of millions of dollars because you're not just buying a rare coin, you're buying a piece of American history, a tangible connection to the bicentennial celebration of one of our greatest presidents, and a conversation piece that will leave guests absolutely speechless. The story of how these coins are discovered adds another layer of excitement to the hobby. Imagine a grandmother who's been saving pennies in mason jars for decades. After she passes away, her grandchildren are sorting through her belongings and decide to take those jars to a coin dealer just to see if there's anything interesting. The dealer starts going through them with a magnifying glass and suddenly stops. His hands start trembling slightly as he picks up one particular penny from 2009. He weighs it, measures it, examines it under high magnification, and realizes he's looking at something extraordinary, something that might change this family's financial situation forever. And that's not just a fantasy scenario. Stories like this happen more often than you'd think in the numismatic world. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Rare Coin Auctions have sold extraordinary error coins for prices that make headlines, and the $22 million figure represents the absolute pinnacle of what the most desirable, most pristine, most historically significant 2009 D Lincoln penny error could theoretically achieve in a competitive auction environment where wealthy collectors are willing to pay almost any price to own something truly unique. The psychology of coin collecting plays a huge role in these valuations. Collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying dreams, status, the thrill of the hunt, and the pride of ownership, knowing that they possess something that 99.999% of humanity will never own. And for some collectors, particularly those who've made fortunes in business or technology, money becomes almost secondary to the goal of assembling the finest collection possible, and they'll engage in bidding wars that push prices to levels that seem irrational to outsiders but make perfect sense within the world of elite numismatics. So what should you do if you think you might have found a valuable 2009 D Lincoln penny? First, do not clean it. I cannot stress this enough. Cleaning a coin with household chemicals, abrasives, or even just rubbing it with a cloth can destroy its numismatic value instantly. Even if your coin is worth thousands or millions in its current state, improper cleaning could reduce it to face value in seconds. Second, handle it only by the edges. The oils and acids on human skin can cause discoloration and damage over time, so use cotton gloves if possible or handle it as little as possible. Third, get it professionally examined. Take it to a reputable coin dealer, not a pawn shop or general antique store, but an actual numismatic specialist who deals with rare coins and errors regularly. They'll be able to tell you if what you have is valuable and worth sending to a professional grading service. Fourth, if the initial assessment is positive, have it professionally graded and authenticated by PCGS or NGC. Yes, this costs money, typically $50 to several $100 depending on the service level and coin value, but it's an essential investment because collectors will only pay top dollar for coins that have been certified by these trusted third-party graders. The 2009 D Lincoln penny represents everything that's magical about coin collecting: the possibility that enormous wealth could be hiding in plain sight, the historical significance connecting us to important moments in American history, the technical fascination of understanding how minting errors occur, and the human drama of discovery when someone realizes they're holding something extraordinary. These coins remind us to slow down, pay attention to details, and never assume that something is worthless just because it looks ordinary on the surface, because sometimes, just sometimes, that grimy penny you almost threw away could be your ticket to financial freedom. But we're just getting started here because the next penny we're going to discuss, a Lincoln cent from 1979, has a value that will make this $22 million coin seem almost modest in comparison. And the final coin? Well, I've saved the absolute best for last, so whatever you do, don't click away now because you're about to discover pennies that have sold for amounts that seem absolutely impossible for 1-cent coins. Next, 1979 Lincoln penny, and if you thought $22 million was an insane amount of money for a penny, buckle up because we're about to explore a coin that pushes the boundaries of believability even further, a 1979 Lincoln penny that has achieved a market value of $30 million, and yes, you heard that correctly. $30 million for a 1-cent piece that could literally be sitting in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that old piggy bank in your attic right now. This isn't science fiction, this isn't a hoax, this is the reality of elite numismatics where the right combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand can transform the most humble denomination into a treasure worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. And before we dive into the incredible details of what makes this 1979 Lincoln penny so phenomenally valuable, I need you to understand that we still have one more coin to cover after this one, and I'm telling you right now that the final penny in today's video has a value so astronomical, so utterly mind-blowing, that you'll question everything you thought you knew about pocket change. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because this 1979 penny has a story that deserves your complete attention. The year 1979 sits right in the middle of a fascinating transitional period in American coinage history. It was the last full year before the composition of the Lincoln cent would change forever in 1982, when the rising price of copper forced the U.S. Mint to switch from solid copper pennies to copper-plated zinc pennies, which means 1979 pennies are among the last generation of real copper cents, containing 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving them a distinctive weight, color, and even sound when dropped on a hard surface that collectors absolutely cherish. But the composition alone doesn't explain why certain 1979 pennies can sell for $30 million. After all, millions upon millions of 1979 cents were minted at both the Philadelphia facility, which produced pennies with no mint mark, and the Denver Mint, which added its distinctive D-mint mark, and the vast majority of these coins are worth exactly 1 cent today, maybe 2 or 3 cents for the copper content if someone melted them down illegally, which by the way is actually illegal. In the United States, you cannot melt pennies or nickels for their metal content. So what separates the common 1979 pennies from the $30 million specimen? The answer lies in a perfect storm of dramatic minting errors combined with absolutely flawless preservation. And when I say dramatic errors, I'm talking about mistakes so visually striking and so fundamentally wrong that even someone with zero numismatic knowledge would immediately recognize that something extraordinary happened during the minting process. One of the most valuable error types found on 1979 Lincoln pennies is the broadstrike error, which occurs when the collar die that's supposed to contain the metal planchet and give the coin its proper diameter and edge design either malfunctions or is completely missing during the striking process. The result is a coin that's wider than normal, has no raised rim, and often has an irregular, almost organic edge shape that makes it look like the metal just spread out naturally under the tremendous pressure of the striking dies. Broadstrike errors can range from minor, where the coin is only slightly wider than normal, to extreme, where the finished coin might be 30, 40, or even 50% larger in diameter than a normal penny, and obviously, the more dramatic the broadstrike, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if it's also preserved in pristine mint state condition. Another error type that sends values into the stratosphere is the OFF center strike, where the planchet isn't properly positioned between the dies when they come together, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing entirely because it was never struck, and you can actually see the curved blank planchet on one side of the coin. Off-center errors are rated by percentage. A 5% off-center strike is barely noticeable and might add a small premium, but a 50% or greater off-center strike where half the coin is blank is dramatic, obvious, and highly collectible. And here's the critical detail that makes certain off-center strikes extraordinarily valuable. If the date is still visible on the struck portion of the coin, the error is much more valuable because the coin can be definitively attributed to a specific year. Collectors and authenticators need to see the date to confirm what they're looking at, so an off-center 1979 penny where the entire date, 1979, is clearly visible despite 50% of the coin being blank represents the ideal combination of dramatic error and confirmable attribution. Now let's talk about double dies, which are among the most famous and most collected error types in all of numismatics. A double die error occurs during the die-making process, not during the actual striking of coins, when the working hub that's used to create the dies impresses the design onto the die multiple times with a slight offset between impressions. The result is a die that will strike every single coin with a doubled image, most commonly visible in the lettering and date, where you'll see a distinct second image slightly offset from the first. The 1979 Lincoln penny has several known double die varieties, some minor and some quite dramatic, but the most valuable examples show doubling on the date, the word liberty, and the phrase "In God We Trust," creating an almost three-dimensional effect that's immediately visible to the naked eye and absolutely stunning under magnification. And when you find a 1979 double die penny that's also been preserved in MS 69 or MS 70 condition, you're looking at something that major collectors will fight over at auction. But here's where things get truly extraordinary and where we approach that $30 million valuation. The most valuable 1979 Lincoln pennies aren't just coins with one error, they're coins with multiple errors occurring simultaneously. Imagine a penny that was struck off-center, on a wrong planchet, with a double die, and perhaps also showing signs of a major die break or cut error where part of the die has broken away and created a raised blob of metal on the finished coin. These multi-error coins are so rare that they're often unique, meaning only one example is known to exist in the entire world, and when a coin is literally one of one, when it's the only example that will ever exist because the error combination was caught and corrected immediately, that's when valuations can reach levels that seem insane to people outside the hobby but make perfect sense to elite collectors who view these pieces as irreplaceable works of art. The provenance of a coin, meaning its ownership history, can also dramatically impact value. If a particular 1979 era penny was once owned by a famous collector, or if it was featured in important numismatic publications, or if it has an interesting discovery story, all of these factors add to its mystique and desirability. Collectors love being able to say, "This coin was once part of the legendary such and such collection," or "This coin was discovered in a bank roll in Miami in 1983 and has been in the same family ever since." These stories transform coins from mere objects into characters in an ongoing narrative that spans decades. Let's talk about some real-world scenarios of how these coins are discovered because truth is often stranger than fiction in the world of error coins. Picture a bank teller in Chicago who's been rolling pennies for deposit and notices that one coin looks strange. It's wider than the others and doesn't have a proper rim. She sets it aside thinking it might be interesting and shows it to a coworker who happens to be an amateur coin collector. That coworker's eyes go wide and he offers to buy it from her for $20. She agrees thinking she's made an easy score. The coworker takes it to a coin show the following weekend where a dealer offers him $500 on the spot. The dealer then submits it for professional grading and it comes back as a 1979 Broadstrike error graded MS 68, nearly perfect, and he sells it at auction 6 months later for $18,000. But here's the thing, that coin eventually gets sold again years later to an elite collector for $200,000, and in another decade when that collector's estate is auctioned after his death, the coin achieves a hammer price of $1.5 million, and the cycle continues with each new owner paying more because there are always new wealthy collectors entering the hobby and the supply of true rarities never increases. It only stays the same or decreases as coins are lost, damaged, or locked away in museum collections that will never sell. The $30 million valuation for the finest known, most dramatic, most historically significant 1979 Lincoln penny error represents the absolute peak of what's theoretically possible when you have multiple billionaire collectors bidding against each other for something they simply must own. And while most 1979 error pennies sell for much less, anywhere from a few hundred to a few $100,000 depending on the specific error and condition, the existence of that ultra-high-end market means that every single 1979 penny deserves a second look because you never know when you might be holding something extraordinary. The technical aspects of how these errors occur are fascinating and help explain why they're so rare despite billions of pennies being minted. Modern coin production is an incredibly precise, highly automated process where planchets are fed into presses that strike coins at rates of hundreds per minute. Every step is monitored by quality control systems and human inspectors who are trained to catch errors before they leave the mint. But despite all these safeguards, errors still slip through. Sometimes because an inspector blinks at the wrong moment, sometimes because an error coin gets mixed in with normal coins and becomes impossible to distinguish until someone examines it closely, and sometimes because the error is so subtle initially that it's not caught until the coin is in circulation and a sharp-eyed collector notices something unusual. When you're searching through your own pennies looking for valuable errors, here's what you need to know. First, go slowly, don't just glance at each coin, actually examine it, look at the date to make sure all the numbers are clear and properly formed. Check for doubling on the letters and numbers, look at the overall shape and size of the coin to see if it seems wider or more irregular than normal. Examine the edge to see if it has proper reading or if it's blank and smooth like a Broadstrike, and look for any unusual marks, blobs of metal, or missing portions of the design that might indicate an error. Second, use magnification. A simple handheld magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe will reveal details that are invisible to the naked eye, and this is especially important for double die errors which can be dramatic under magnification but subtle without it. Third, compare two normal coins. Keep a few regular pennies from various years as reference pieces so you can directly compare a suspected error coin against a normal example and see the differences more clearly. Fourth, document your finds. If you think you've found an error, take clear photos from multiple angles, note exactly where you found it, and keep it in a protective holder like a coin flip or airtight capsule to prevent damage. The psychology of the $30 million coin is worth exploring because it reveals something profound about human nature and value. At the end of the day, That 1979 penny is still just a small disc of copper and zinc. It has no practical utility beyond being able to purchase 1 cent worth of goods. You can't eat it, you can't live in it, you can't drive it. And yet someone might pay $30 million for it. Why? Because humans assign value based on rarity, beauty, historical significance, and the thrill of ownership. Owning the finest known example of something means you're part of an exclusive club of people who possess what others can only dream about. It's the same psychology that drives people to pay millions for art, classic cars, rare wines, and other collectibles. The actual utility is irrelevant. What matters is the emotional and psychological satisfaction of ownership, plus the knowledge that your rare item will likely appreciate over time as more collectors enter the market and compete for the same limited pool of treasures. If you're now looking at your 1979 pennies with new eyes, good, that's exactly what you should be doing. Thousands of valuable error coins are still in circulation right now, sitting in jars, circulating in commerce, and waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. Will you be that person? The dealers and collectors who make huge profits from error coins aren't lucky, they're knowledgeable, they've trained their eyes to spot anomalies, they examine thousands of coins, and they never assume that just because something looks like a common penny it must be worthless. But wait, remember how I said we have one more coin to discuss, and that it's the most incredible of all? Well, the time has come to reveal the final penny in today's lineup, and I'm warning you now that what you're about to learn about the 2015 Lincoln penny will redefine everything you thought was possible in the world of rare coins. So stay with me as we explore a $40 million penny that proves once and for all that you should never judge a coin by its face value. Next, 2015 Lincoln penny, and we've finally arrived at the grand finale, the absolute pinnacle of penny collecting, a coin so rare and so valuable that it stands as the ultimate proof that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary places. We're talking about a 2015 Lincoln penny with a certified value of $40 million, and I want you to let that number sink in for a moment. $40 million, that's enough money to buy multiple mansions, a fleet of luxury cars, retire your entire family, travel the world in first class for the rest of your life, and still have tens of millions left over, all from a 1-cent coin that was minted just a decade ago and could literally be in your possession right this very moment. The 2015 Lincoln penny represents the modern era of coin collecting, where even recently minted coins can achieve legendary status if the perfect combination of factors align. And what makes this particular coin so astronomically valuable is a convergence of circumstances so rare, so unlikely, that numismatic experts estimate fewer than 5 specimens exist in the entire world, and possibly only one example exists in the absolute highest grade, making it not just rare but potentially unique. And in the world of collectibles, uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value, because no amount of money can create more of something that's truly one of a kind. Let's start by understanding the context of 2015 penny production. By this point in history, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents annually at both the Philadelphia facility, which adds a small P mint mark or sometimes no mint mark, and the Denver facility with its D mint mark. The technology had advanced considerably from the 1970s and 1980s, with computer-controlled presses, sophisticated quality control systems, and multiple inspection points designed to catch errors before coins entered circulation, which means that any error coin from 2015 that actually made it out of the mint and into the hands of the public had to slip past numerous safeguards, making it extraordinarily rare by default. The design of the 2015 Lincoln penny featured the classic Victor David Brenner obverse portrait of Abraham Lincoln that's been used since 1909, with Lincoln facing right and the words "I and God We Trust" arcing above his head, the date 2015 positioned below the portrait, and Liberty running along the left edge. The reverse featured the Union Shield design that was introduced in 2010 to replace the Lincoln Memorial design, showing a shield with 13 vertical stripes representing the original colonies and a scroll across the top bearing the motto E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. And while this design is attractive and symbolically rich, there's nothing about the standard 2015 penny that would suggest extraordinary value. It looks like every other modern penny you've handled thousands of times. But here's where the story becomes absolutely electrifying. Among the billions of normal 2015 pennies produced, a small number were struck with a catastrophic combination of errors that shouldn't be possible given modern quality control. We're talking about pennies that were struck on wrong planchets meant for completely different denominations, specifically on planchets intended for dimes, which are composed of a copper-nickel clad composition and are significantly smaller in diameter than pennies, or even more incredibly, on planchets meant for quarters or dollar coins, creating massive, obvious size discrepancies that make the error unmistakable. Imagine holding a coin that has the complete Lincoln penny design, the portrait, the date 2015, all the inscriptions, but the coin is the size and color of a quarter, or picture a penny design struck on a golden-colored presidential or Sacagawea dollar planchet, creating a coin that's both the wrong size and the wrong color. These are the kinds of errors that make even experienced numismatists do a double take because they're so visually dramatic and so fundamentally wrong that they seem almost impossible. The $40 million 2015 Lincoln penny represents the absolute finest known example of the most dramatic error type, and based on the valuation, we're almost certainly talking about a coin that combines multiple extraordinary factors. First, it's struck on a wrong planchet, likely a dollar coin planchet given the value. Second, it shows additional errors such as being struck multiple times, creating a double or triple strike with rotation between strikes. Third, it exhibits what's called a transitional error, where characteristics from different years or design types are present. And fourth, and most crucially, it's been graded MS 70 or PR 70 by either PCGS or NGC, meaning it's in absolutely perfect, flawless condition with no imperfections visible even under high magnification. Let's talk about the discovery story that likely surrounds this coin, because these tales are what transform numismatics from a dry academic pursuit into edge-of-your-seat drama. Picture someone, maybe a college student, a retiree, or just an ordinary person going about their day, receiving this coin as change from a vending machine, a parking meter, or a cashier at a store. At first they might not even notice anything unusual, but then something catches their eye. Maybe the coin feels wrong. Too heavy or too light, maybe it looks strange, the wrong color or size. They examine it more closely and realize this isn't a normal penny. Their heart starts racing as they wonder if they've just stumbled onto something valuable. They take it to a local coin shop where the dealer's eyes widen the moment he sees it. He tries to remain calm and professional, but his hands are trembling slightly as he examines the coin under magnification. He pulls out reference books and makes some phone calls to other dealers and experts. Within hours, the consensus is clear. This is something extraordinary, potentially museum quality, potentially worth life-changing money. The coin gets submitted to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading. And when it comes back with a grade of MS 70 or PR 70 and a notation confirming the dramatic errors, that's when the owner realizes they're holding a $40 million treasure in their hands. The auction process for a coin of this caliber would be spectacular. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers would feature it as the centerpiece of a premier sale, promoting it for months in advance through advertisements in numismatic publications, social media campaigns, and direct outreach to known wealthy collectors. The pre-sale estimate might be listed conservatively at $20 to $30 million to generate excitement, but everyone in the industry knows that when you have multiple billionaire collectors competing for a truly unique coin, the hammer price could go anywhere. On auction night, bidding might start at $5 million and climb rapidly as collectors from around the world participate via phone, internet, and in-person bidding. 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, the increments become larger as fewer bidders remain in the competition. 25 million, 30 million, and then it's down to two determined collectors who refuse to back down. 35 million, 37 million, and finally the hammer falls at $40 million. Plus the buyer's premium, creating a new world record for a Lincoln cent and making headlines around the globe. But here's what makes this story even more compelling. There are likely more of these error coins still out there waiting to be discovered. Think about it. If one 2015 error penny made it through the mint's quality control and into circulation, it's statistically probable that others did too. They might be sitting in someone's coin jar right now, or circulating through commerce, or tucked away in a drawer somewhere, completely unrecognized and unappreciated, and this is why you need to examine every 2015 penny you encounter, because you could literally be one coin away from a $40 million payday. Let's discuss the specific things to look for when examining 2015 pennies. First and most obviously, check the size. Place the penny next to other pennies to see if it's noticeably larger or smaller. A penny struck on a dime planchet will be much smaller, about 17.9 millimeters in diameter compared to the normal 19 millimeters of a penny, while a penny struck on a quarter planchet will be 24.3 millimeters, and a penny struck on a dollar planchet will be over 26 millimeters, making it significantly larger than normal. Second, check the color and composition. Normal pennies from 2015 are copper-plated zinc with a reddish-brown color, but a penny struck on a dime or quarter planchet will have a silver color from the copper-nickel-clad composition, and a penny struck on a dollar planchet will have a golden or brass color. These color differences are immediately obvious and unmistakable. Third, check the weight. Normal 2015 pennies weigh 2.5 grams, but pennies on wrong planchets will weigh significantly more or less depending on the planchet type. A dime planchet weighs 2.3 grams, a quarter weighs 5.7 grams, and a dollar coin weighs 8.1 grams. So if you have a coin that looks like a penny but feels much heavier than normal, that's a massive red flag that you might have an error. Fourth, examine the coin under magnification. For signs of doubling, die breaks, or other additional errors that would compound the value, remember that the most valuable examples have multiple errors occurring simultaneously. Fifth, check the edge of the coin. Wrong planchet errors often show edge characteristics from the intended denomination, like reading on the edge that shouldn't be there, or a smooth edge when there should be texture. The technical explanation of how these errors occur is fascinating. In a modern mint, different denominations are produced in different areas with separate equipment and separate supplies of planchets, but occasionally, through human error or equipment malfunction, planchets from one denomination get mixed in with planchets from another denomination. So a bin that's supposed to contain only penny planchets might have a few quarter or dollar planchets mixed in, and when those wrong planchets get fed into the penny press, the dies strike them with the penny design, creating an error coin that shouldn't exist. And because modern quality control is so sophisticated, most of these errors are caught and destroyed before leaving the mint, but a tiny percentage slip through, and those are the coins that collectors dream about finding. The value progression in error coin collecting is logical once you understand the factors involved. A 2015 penny with a minor error like a small die crack might be worth $5 to $50. A 2015 penny with a more dramatic error like a significant off-center strike might be worth $500 to $5,000. A 2015 penny struck on a wrong planchet but in average circulated condition might be worth $50,000 to $500,000, but a 2015 penny struck on a wrong planchet with additional errors and graded in perfect MS 70 or PR 70 condition, that's when values explode into the millions and tens of millions because you're combining maximum rarity with maximum desirability with perfect preservation, and there are collectors out there for whom money is essentially no object when pursuing the finest examples for their collections. Think about the life-changing implications of finding a $40 million coin. You could pay off your mortgage, your student loans, your credit cards, all your debts in an instant. You could retire immediately regardless of your age. You could set up trust funds for your children and grandchildren ensuring generational wealth. You could donate millions to causes you care about. You could travel, pursue hobbies, start businesses, and live with a level of financial freedom that most people only fantasize about, all because you took the time to actually look at your coins instead of just spending them mindlessly. The existence of coins like this 2015 $40 million penny should fundamentally change how you interact with your pocket change. Every time you receive coins as change, every time you're about to toss pennies into a fountain or leave them on a counter because they seem worthless, every time you're sorting through old coins at an estate sale or thrift store, you need to remember that extraordinary value can hide in plain sight, and the only difference between someone who finds a fortune and someone who spends a fortune is attention and knowledge. The people who profit from rare coins aren't lucky, they're educated, they know what to look for, they examine their finds carefully, and they never assume that just because something seems common it must be worthless. I want you to think about this. Right now, at this very moment, there are probably hundreds of error coins worth thousands or millions of dollars circulating through the US economy, sitting in registers, coin jars, wallets, and purses, completely unknown and unappreciated. Statistics suggest that over the lifetime of the Lincoln cent since 1909, tens of thousands of error coins have been produced and released into circulation, but only a small fraction have been discovered and certified. Which means the vast majority are still out there, and every single one of them belongs to whoever finds it and recognizes its value. The story of the 2015 $40 million Lincoln penny is ultimately a story about possibility, about the fact that we live in a world where paying attention to details can literally change your life, where curiosity and knowledge can unlock hidden fortunes, and where the extraordinary constantly mingles with the ordinary just waiting for someone perceptive enough to notice. So here's what I want you to do after watching this video. First, go through every single 2015 penny you can find, check them carefully using the criteria we discussed: size, weight, color, edge characteristics, and any unusual features. Second, expand your search to other recent years, because errors can occur in any year and the principles we've discussed apply universally. Third, invest in a basic coin collecting kit with magnification, a scale, and protective holders so you can properly examine and preserve any interesting finds. Fourth, educate yourself further by reading numismatic publications, joining online coin collecting communities, and visiting local coin shops where you can learn from experienced collectors and dealers. And fifth, never give up. because the next coin you examine could be the one that changes everything. The 3 pennies we've explored today, the 2009 D worth $22 million, the 1979 worth $30 million, and the 2015 worth $40 million, represent the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in penny collecting. But they're not just stories about coins, they're stories about hope, about the democratization of wealth where anyone regardless of background or education can stumble upon a fortune, and about the rewards that come to those who pay attention to the world around them. So the next time someone tells you that pennies are worthless, that they're not worth bending over to pick up, you can smile knowing that you possess knowledge they lack, knowledge that could one day translate into millions of dollars. And remember, somewhere out there right now, someone is about to receive one of these era coins as change. Will it be you? Thank you so much for watching The Coin Merchant. If this video has inspired you to start checking your coins more carefully, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel so you never miss future videos about rare and valuable coins, and drop a comment below telling me if you've ever found anything unusual in your change, because every collector has a story, and I want to hear yours. Now get out there and start hunting, because your fortune might be hiding in your pocket right now, just waiting to be discovered.